Well, welcome everybody. This is the 17th annual Regional Chamber of Commerce State of the Community event we've held. It was very interesting when we went back in time and looked at all the different speakers and leaders that went through our community, either ones that have retired and also new and upcoming leaders that have been developed. So it's been fun to see that, and thank you so much for braving today to come out. We've noticed that the weather band has blessed us in the middle here. A lot of other people that are north of us and south of us are getting hit pretty hard. So we have, luckily, we were able to get a virtual element of the program, so it's very helpful in days like today. My name is Dan Lettingham, Edward Jones Investments at Petoskey. I have done this for over 17 years, and I'm honored to do this. This has been an absolute blast. It's a neat way to give components of our community some information on the update this last year. So this year we have 9 different speakers today. They're going to come on for multiple interview style program with Nikki on my left, Lisa on my right. Also, I want to thank, as a new sponsor, is Alpine Media, allowing us to have this virtual streaming today. That's been absolutely wonderful. Our main sponsor is going to be Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, Consumers Energy, and OHM Advisors. So thank you for doing that. So speaking of the virtual, we have some dignitaries joining us today. So I have a nice list of them. Senator Wayne Schmidt of the 37th District, Regina Gaskell-Bentley, chairperson of the Little Traverse Bay Band of Odawa Indians, Brandon Cargill for U.S. Representative Jack Bergman, Kelly Lively, on behalf of U.S. Senator Gary Peters, Melissa Fougier, on behalf of U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow, Haley Hildebrand for Governor Whitmer here today. So thank you so much for joining us. So those who came early, I hope you had a chance to walk through the gallery next door. If not afterwards, please go through the gallery, because I want to thank our event host, Crooked Tree Art Center today. It is an absolute gem that we have inside of our community, so thank you so much. Speaking of beautiful, we have now 3 new set days on our stage. We also have new sponsors for those, so we thought it'd be kind of fun to recognize them and also a little more comfortable maybe for the speakers to go through. So we have Quiet Moose, Coffin Furniture and Appliance, and Kiss Carpeting sponsoring our stage. Every year we go through and we try to compile different organization reports. We've asked 30 different organizations this year to put them together. They weren't able to come today, so they compiled those. If you look on your program, you'll see a QR code in the program. You're able to download all of those reports onto your phone right now or your computer. You can also go to the Chamber website and pick those up. Very interesting reports. Also on the right-hand side of the Chamber's website, you'll be able to go through the different reports throughout each year. So it's a great way to get a good feeling for the last year for different organizations. We're so thankful as we look at those. They're very difficult to put together, going through editorials on those, gathering those. So I want to, Emily, where are you at? I want to say thank you to Emily Stuccio for there you are, in the back, way in the back. That was it's a big project, always is, probably one of the hardest projects, so we put this together. So our lead sponsor today, again, like I mentioned, with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, has been a sponsor throughout the years of our chamber and multiple chambers. We are so thankful for them doing this, and the dedication to try to make it up here today was Chris Strobe. Unfortunately, the ice storm hit Chris coming out of Traverse City, so standing in for Chris is Nikki.
Well, we tried to get everybody here, but again, Chris is watching virtually, so thank you, Chris. I'm going to try not to screw this up. So in case you didn't know, February is Health Heart Month, and Blue Cross Blue Shield is partnering with the American Heart Association to encourage you to reclaim your rhythm. This campaign is going to raise awareness of cardiovascular disease, which is the leading cause of death in women and is responsible for about 1 in 4 deaths in America each year. So Blue Cross is doing some neat things to raise awareness, including lighting the Renaissance Towers, the Lion Meadows Water Tower, and the AF Group Building in Lansing in red. And then as well as that, the Detroit Tower is being lit with a red heart on one side and the Go Red dress symbol throughout the month. That's a really cool way to recognize the Heart Health Month. And if you want to find some more information on heart health recipes, mental health, etc., go to My Blue Perspectives or ahealthiermichigan.org. Now, Blue Cross is also using this year, and May in particular, to bring awareness to child abuse and neglect prevention. The entire Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan enterprise is partnering with the Children's Trust Fund, or the CTF, to amplify its work on child abuse and neglect prevention. Blue Cross chose the CTF as their charitable focus for 2022, deploying a year-long campaign devoted to the organization's cause to raise critical funding for the organization and awareness of its programs and resources. There is a host of information that you can find on Blue Cross's websites, as we mentioned, and I wanted to also talk about the fact that Blue Cross has been a long supporter of enhancing children's health and wellness through various programs, including building healthy communities, which offer physical and mental health tools and resources in school for teachers, administrators, and families. And they're going to use May as their Child Abuse and Neglect Prevention Month by asking community partners to create a pinwheel garden to help raise awareness. And I can tell you that the Petoskey Chamber has already signed up for our Blue Pinwheel Garden in recognition of child abuse and neglect prevention, so I encourage anyone else whose organization wishes to do so to contact Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And Chris, if you're watching, I hope I did okay. I'm going to give it back to you, Dan.
Well, thanks, Nikki, Chris, Chris. Well, we also want to thank our additional sponsors today of Consumers Energy and also OHM Advisors. We greatly appreciate their sponsorship too. So let's get the show started. Let's get this thing going. We're happy to be back in person this year. So live streaming options have been great. Today's program is all about providing as much information as we possibly can in the shortest amount of time to get you back on the road again. Virtually, last year, 12 months ago, we went complete virtual on this program. We were very inspired by what we heard when we were going through talking to different participants, listening to the different speakers, reading the different reports. It was the collaboration, and I think the effort was amazing as we look forward there. The heroic efforts were the ones that really inspired me. It wasn't just, and I shouldn't say just, I will say it wasn't going to be just the healthcare that was that way. It spread throughout the community. We watched businesses, we watched individuals, we watched essential workers, all doing their part to pull together. So we looked at that basically as a reset, or a new horizon we could look forward to. Little did we know that that was just the beginning as we go forward. So now we're back in this in 2022. We're back live in this point in time. So I want to say that from last year all the way up into this year is it's a great way to exemplify Petoskey Strong. So thank you for all they did. So when you read the reports, I mentioned collaboration. So we went through and read all the reports and looking at this. The collaboration between the different organizations that were previously was very good. Currently, excellent. It's amazing what happens when people pull together. You become greater and stronger than one. So that is what you're going to see throughout these reports. I think you'll see that today a little bit. The collaboration is what's going to make us stronger than we are currently right now. So with that, collaboration, if you want to have a key component that I believe that's going to pull everything together and be the champion of this, it's going to be the Petoskey Chamber. I have said this for years. I'm a big proponent. I'm a big advocate. And of course, with our small little speaker in the corner here, I want to find out, give us an update, Nikki, if you wouldn't mind, for the Chamber and what you come across.
Absolutely. All right. So the resounding takeaway, as Dan said, from 2021 seemed to be just when you thought you had faced it all, buckle up because there's a lot more coming. And we've learned how to overcome that and what we're doing with it. And we looked back at all this and we expected more of that return to normal. And I think we've all heard this so many times, but we understood too that that was something of the past. And so as we say at the Chamber all the time, we decided we're moving forward instead, and we watched our community do it as well. So when you look at it from what was faced in 21, different than 2020, so add pandemic, add all the fun stuff, but you also had record inflation, supply chain issues, the crises in every single state of workforce, housing, childcare, and more. We saw, as Dan said, how important collaboration was to solve the issues that face our community now more than ever. And the Chamber has a long understanding of collaboration, and we worked with multiple partners in 2021 to create awareness for a variety of things going on in our community. We worked with the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation and convened a work group to dig into public transportation options. We continued to advocate with the Little Traverse Bay Housing Partnership and many others to bring awareness to the critical problem of lack of affordable housing. We worked to create concepts that could be implemented as NCMC led the charge to address a multitude of hurdles for the lack of childcare. We worked with the public schools of Petoskey to create video interviews with area businesses to highlight career pathways right here in our own hometown for their Reach Higher Thursday series. Most importantly, as part of the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, we were effective champions advocating for changes in a multitude of legislations, childcare, the newly created Office of Rural Development. We partnered in coalitions that addressed rural business issues and advocated for budget priorities that offered our region the opportunity to support, develop, and compete at a state level. These reflect just a very small portion of the things that go on behind the scenes at your chamber and the issues that we're involved in. Like every business and organization, we took 2021 in stride and found ways to make great progress. And you're going to hear today and read more, not just the chamber's progress, but everyone's progress, especially when you take time to read the booklet. We as a chamber modified, remodified, and modified again our programming in the ever-changing pandemic, our events, and everything else. Our landscape now, we know, is an adaptive strategy, and we also know it's far from behind us. So we were grateful, though, through it all, to have this opportunity to be at the center of your community. And we look forward to showing you some very exciting things that we have planned to build our businesses and our community back better than ever this year and beyond. So as you said, Dan, this community continues to be Petoskey strong. So we want to get things started by first inviting our first group of speakers up to join us on the stage, and then I'm going to turn it back to you so you can kick off our interviews and we can hear all about the progress we've made and the great future to come.
Sounds great. Thanks, Nikki. Boy, this is nice, isn't it?
So comfy.
Nice, soft, and I know.
Hi, Lisa.
This works out really well. All right, so thank you, Nikki, for, we've had 25 years. I think it has been 25 years that the Groundworks has empowered people who want to be part of a better Michigan, I guess is the best way I could pull it together. Looking for innovative, unique, different local-based ideas that create clean environments. Am I capturing that right? Yes. Okay. Looking for strong economies, healthy communities, obviously from a finance and a business standpoint is important here, all the way through to both sides are, I think, equally important. When I look at this, I want to introduce somebody sitting next to me, is Jen Skup, who is a local food policy specialist of the Groundworks Center for Resilient Communities. So welcome. Now, I'd heard about this a little, but I didn't know a lot until we started digging in a little bit further on this. It's very interesting and fascinating to me as trying to accomplish something that may not be necessarily feasibly possible in my eyes because of a lot of the regulation and some of the hurdles that are, I would say, contemporary hurdles that have gone through. So I'm impressed with what I've seen already go through. In the farm to schools, it's interested me because the fact that it's not only to the schools and the children in the schools, what we're seeing now is you're working with the local farmers and the economy and working on that. How do you get that to work? From looking at that going from a farmer all the way through the schools of passing all the regulation.
Yeah, well, thank you. We definitely want to connect students to both their community and to their farmers. I've heard from some students that they trust their neighbors, they pass these farms, and that is, I think, something that definitely describes and defines our rural community, protecting some of this land and the farming community that we've built that I think we're becoming known for. In Farm to School, we like to do activities like seasonal food tastings. We have the Harvest of the Month, and I heard somebody say, Nikki said, it's Heart Health Month, and so if you want to check out our Harvest of the Month materials on our website, you can meet Betty Beet. She is the animated character that's going to tell students about why beets are so great and why you should eat them. We also do lots of literal field trips when we can, bringing students out to farms so that they can see what it's like. They know it's a viable job opportunity, and they get to know where their food comes from. It doesn't just come from the store. We focus on the 3 C's. So you can have food in the cafeteria, and students will take it because they have to, because of these regulations. But if you have not just the cafeteria, but you also have the classroom lessons that really motivate and engage students around these different types of foods and opportunities, that helps solidify that. But it's also the community piece. So we're bringing in community volunteers. I see some in our audience who come in and explain what is so exciting about trying these new things. And maybe we were talking backstage, maybe you don't like it today. but you're probably gonna have your taste buds change over time. And so 15 to 30 exposures of a different thing. We're not gonna make you try it, but maybe smell it, maybe feel it, maybe write about it, and really get used to it. Students will eventually build those healthy habits. And from my perspective, setting students up for a lifetime of helpful habits where they're really engaged in their food and are feeling positive about their bodies, and making sure that they feel cared for in a school setting, I think is really what Farm to School is all about, and providing that nutritious food for students.
Interesting, and it's always been, I think people strive to eat healthy. And people they really try to, they look for the healthy alternative the best they can for what they know. And then when we started talking a little bit about that, then it gets into the economics of it, which we know that typically the healthier the food, the more expensive it is, which is restrictive for a lot of people. So I'm gonna mention one word that just fascinates me, and I know very little about it, but it's the 10 cents a meal.
Yes.
On the school programs. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So the gist of 10 cents a meal, because we did get reports from schools when we started this as a pilot, that cost is a barrier to schools, right? They're operating on $1.20 to $1.40 to make a plate of food. So in that pilot, we were able to try with 3 different schools and find some funding to support a trial to see how we could reimburse school food service directors for buying Michigan-grown produce. So that's the 10 cents a meal program. It started in the Traverse City area several years ago, and our champions on our team just worked so hard, and Senator Wayne Schmidt has been a huge help in this too. We got it into the state budget, and it started small. And it was at $575,000 a few years ago, and Senator Wayne Schmidt helped us expand that. It's at $5 million. It's statewide, thank you. Lots of hard work went into that. But it is now available beyond the K through 12. It's available to early childhood education centers. Tell all of them that you know, because the application is open until February 25th. But it really is an incentive to have schools purchase local food and support local farms. And I have to tell you, so a lot of our schools in this area benefit from that, including Alanson and Pelston, who we work really closely with. Petoskey Public Schools, the public schools of Petoskey, excuse me. One of the success stories there is that the food service director in 2016, her produce budget, 25% was going to our local farms. Last year, 92% of her produce budget going to local farms. So it really is an amazing program that I think is a national model.
That's fascinating from the standpoint of that budget going to local farms. The school systems, now you mentioned a little bit about up north, so Petoskey, not Petoskey, but as much as Lansing and Pelston. How are those programs different than other schools?
That's a great question. So 5 years ago, 5+ years ago, when we opened our Petoskey office with the help of our local foundation and others, this community was saying, we are ready for Farm to School. We're ready for this community to support something like what Traverse City was doing, which was bringing in Food Corps service members, which is a national program. They can go into schools and do these lessons and help support the gardens and work with the students. And so we did. We started with 1 Food Corps service member in Boyne Falls Public Schools. And if you're following Farm to School at all, you've heard a lot about Boyne Falls. They're graduating from that program this year. It's been 6 years. We often would commit about 3 to 5 years, but as we know, the last few years have been a little bit different. So we have expanded now. Over that time, we've expanded to 3 Food Corps service members, and they're going into not just Boyne Falls, but East Jordan, Alanson, and Pelston. And yes, we borrowed strategies from Groundworks Traverse City office so that we could really help the communities in Alanson and Pelston. And in those communities, we've helped reestablish a garden. Pelston has this amazing hoop house, if you've been by there, next to the solar array, that we can offer as a classroom for students. All students, but as we know, some students learn better in a different environment. So it's an opportunity for students and for teachers to incorporate that into their lessons. And another thing that we're doing in Pellston right now, tomorrow and Thursday, is our cooking classes with freshmen and seniors. We've learned that many of them are in charge of the snacks after school. Some of them feed their siblings dinner. And so incorporating a lot of those local veggies into what they're doing is going to be hopefully helpful to them. We're working with electric skillets and blenders over the next 5 weeks so that they can be self-sufficient in that way. And I'd be remiss not to mention that we've made a recent development with the Shoreham Intermediate School District where we are working to institutionalize this work so that all schools have the support for nutrition and garden education. And what that looks like is right now, as many of you maybe know, the state is requiring some goal setting. And so through the MyKIP, Michigan Integrated Continuous Improvement Process, the schools are working to create those goals that understand that a whole child needs to be fed, needs to be loved, needs to be engaged with the community, and so we're working to support that.
Well, Jenna promised me that she would try to get through this conversation today without crying.
I think I did it.
You did well. You did well. I love to see somebody like this that's so passionate, that has such a great heart, that works forward. So thank you so much for coming today. Yep, it's been wonderful. We talked about impact on students and schools and local farmers. Next, I want to go to housing with Lisa Hoyt.
Thank you, Dan. So everything starts at home. Health, well-being, learning, and safety. Yet finding safe, affordable housing or apartments for individuals or families in Emmett County has been extremely challenging. Homes and apartments are in short supply. The costs are high, and we also know that construction and land costs are rising dramatically as well. Northwest Habitat for Humanity has an ambitious plan and end goal to impact affordable housing in our area over the next few years. Sarah Ulrich, can you discuss the work that your organization is doing and also the impact you hope to have on our community?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I mean, Lisa kind of nailed it on the head. No pun intended, I'm sorry, construction. But the housing that a family has access to, it really impacts every aspect of their lives and long-term socioeconomic outcomes for that family unit. It's even bigger than that, though. I mean, when we sit down and talk about the issues that our community is currently facing, I mean, Nikki mentioned a few earlier. If we sat down and made a list of all of those issues, I bet you could draw a line directly correlating that issue to housing in some way. So this is really a community-wide issue that we all need to be thinking about. And at Northwest Michigan Habitat for Humanity, you know, we've been building homes in our communities in Emmett, Charlevoix County for over 30 years now, but we've really seen this issue increase in intensity. And so as an organization, we kind of sat down and looked at what we could do to more aggressively combat this issue. So we have, you know, gone through a revitalization process of some of our programs. We've changed some of our operations to work on increasing our capacity. And in one way, we have moved to a modular housing product that is a high quality. It meets our energy efficiency and safety standards. And so this is one way we're working to increase our output into the work. So, you know, in the past, we've been able to build about 4 homes a year. We're looking at increasing that to 12 to 14 homes a year. So really trying to hit this head on. We have set a goal for ourselves to build 42 homes by 2025. And Lisa kind of mentioned that as an end goal, but for us, that's really just the beginning. We're looking at this, as I said, as aggressively as possible, and so we're always looking for opportunities to increase that number, looking for the next big project to do. And I think you're probably seeing a rendering up on the screen of one of the communities we'll be building 32 homes in starting this spring. So we're really excited about that work, and I encourage everyone, as I said, this is a community-wide project, and we're going to need everyone to come together to help solve this.
You're definitely right that it is a community-wide issue, and Nikki and I and some of the chamber ambassadors were fortunate enough to be in Alanson when you did a ribbon cutting for, there were 3 homes, 2 were modular, 1 was an incredible remodel that you did, but we were fortunate enough to be part of that and to also see those homes and the quality, and just, they're wonderful. So yeah, very fortunate to be a part of that. So housing, again, not all funding for housing comes from government. There are opportunities for local individuals, companies, entities to make an impact. And you have an opportunity to make an impact through the Emmett County Housing Solutions Fund. So we have Sarah Ford here with the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation, and she wants to explain a little bit more about how this fund is working and some goals that you have and just ways that others can participate.
Thank you, Lisa. While, like Lisa said, while there are many state and federal government programs for affordable housing, they're limited in scope, and rural areas such as ours have a difficult time often competing to win those awards. We also know that there's this persistent funding gap. If you talk to Sarah about her budget, the cost that it's going to, the expense is going to for construction is going to exceed the amount that a family or individual can afford on many cases in our community. So these things together made us as a community foundation realize that we need to develop local resources for housing. And one thing that we did in 2019 was to establish the Emmett Housing Solutions Fund, and this fund is established to help bridge that financial gap that exists for housing in our community. We aim to increase the supply of housing across a variety of price points and housing types. And we're really focused with this fund on the early stages of development. They often create barriers for projects even getting off the ground. That's often in the development world referred to as pre-development. And that can be things like environmental assessments. It could be infrastructure development is a huge one. Sometimes in order to create denser housing, you need to have additional infrastructure put into place, or maybe the infrastructure needs to be expanded. So that's another cost that creates a barrier for development. And then, of course, there's many other things that kind of fall under that, but another big one for us is the high cost of land, and that is especially true in our area where land is at a premium. We are a highly desirable area for people to move to, and land costs are high. So this last area is where we're really focused right now as a community foundation. We're in the midst of a campaign to raise $500,000 to preserve a prime parcel of land for future workforce housing development, and are working with a local developer to make that come to fruition. So the goal, with that is that we will have multifamily housing development in our community that could serve potentially 30 to 60 households, and that would be aimed at serving households that make less than 120% of the area median income. And for Emmett County, that is roughly equates to about $88,000 for a family of 4 at the 120% threshold. So, we realize that no one entity, kind of like Sarah said, no one entity alone is going to solve our housing crisis. And we're not going to be, our workforce housing needs, they're not going to be addressed by the market alone because the economics just don't support it. You can't build housing for a price point that is affordable to our area workforce. So we really need strong partnership with nonprofits like Northwest Michigan Habitat for Humanity, but also with local government, philanthropy, and the private sector to help identify potential building sites, to bring together development partners, and to raise that capital to bridge the funding gap, because that funding gap is not going anywhere. And so that's something that we felt that as a community foundation, we're well suited and well positioned to help with. So that campaign is ongoing, and we're hoping to wrap that up by May of this year, so we're moving quickly toward that goal.
Thank you for that. Yeah, definitely 30 to 60 additional housing units would be incredible, but it's just like the very, very tiny little piece of what we actually have for demand. I think it was a 2019 study, and I believe that there was demand in Emmett County. I want to think it was like 1,200 rentals and like 450 owner properties, owner homes. So, and I'm sure that since 2019 that has just dramatically increased. So both of your organizations are doing just incredible work. Here's a good question for you. So what could be the impact on our area in 5 or 10 years if we aren't able to establish essentially housing for all? And you guys can arm wrestle over it.
I mean, we could talk all day about housing, but I'll try to keep it brief.
We'll get the hook, we've been told. So I'm going to start, and Sarah, please jump in. But in short, the impact could be significant. And I don't want to be all doom and gloom. We said, oh, great, give us this like doom and gloom question at the end here. But the reality is, we don't know for sure what the impact is, but it could be significant. And we know that investing in housing is investing in a stronger economy and improving lives in our community. I think if you think about our community and think about the people who make your lives easier and better, and who you rely on or who would be missed if they aren't in our community. Maybe it's your favorite waiter at your restaurant that you go to, or the woman who's friendly and efficient in the checkout line at the grocery store, the phlebotomist who draws your blood for your annual wellness visit, the people at the local hardware store who help you figure out, the right light bulbs for your lamps. Maybe it's you have an emergency plumbing situation and you need a plumber on the weekend and you need them to get to your house fast. These are the people in our community challenges, and that's why we need to continue to work toward creating solutions so that we can have a diverse number and types of people and communities around us, and different types of families who can come here, and different professions that can be supported here. All of those things make rich, robust communities that we all want to live, work, and play in.
I should not have let her go first because she just said pretty much everything I think we needed to say, but no, it was great. Yeah, just to kind of piggyback, I absolutely agree with everything that Sarah said, and for each of these units of housing, whether it's apartments or for purchase single-family homes, those are employees that we're retaining in our community. I mean, everybody in this room has probably had an example of someone they've tried to recruit for a job position, and they've accepted excitedly, and they can't wait to move to our area, and then they call you 2 weeks later and they say, I can't believe I'm having to tell you this, but I have to say no, I cannot find a place to live. And yeah, Sarah gave a lot of good examples of those types of people that we have in our community, but again, like we're talking about teachers. We've served through our Habitat program this year a teacher, a mental health services counselor. Like these are people that make up the fabric of our community, and we like to use that visual of a fabric. Well, that fabric needs a framework, and the framework is housing. So, yeah, thank you.
I love it. The fabric and the framework is housing. You gotta trademark that, right? No. Thank you both. I was lucky to have the Sarahs to be able to talk with them, so it made my day. Our next topic is healthcare. And we're going to move over to Nikki, and she is going to help us learn more about exciting things on the horizon.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Sarahs. Thank you so much for getting on the housing block and doing what I normally do when I speak of where that goes for our community. And Todd and I were over here nodding when you're listing all the people that won't be here in 5 to 10 years or that we can't bring into this wonderful community. And we were doing this, so we're with you. So thank you for that very much. So we're going to flip things a little bit, and yes, we ended on not a doom and gloom question, but a reality question, so we could follow it up with some good things and some great things, and we're making huge progress in housing, and we'll continue to as long as it's a collaborative community effort. But healthcare also continues to be at the very forefront of our community, obviously, in many ways. We haven't said the word a lot today, but we all know. And when we're looking at it, we're excited at the progress that we've seen at McLaren, Northern Michigan. And we're not just talking about the expansion, we're talking about more than that. So joining me is Todd Birch, who is the CEO of McLaren, Northern Michigan. Thank you, Todd. All right, so there's a lot going on at McLaren, obviously, right now, but something that is, I think, really exciting and needs some in-depth explanation is the brand new approval of a family medicine residency rule training tract. The RTT program. So that's primarily going to be based here in Petoskey. And we all know that McLaren, Northern Michigan has a great reach, but home to us. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Can you say it better than me?
No, I can't say it better than you. Thank you for challenging me with that, though. Thank you, Nikki. I do appreciate it. So for a family physician to become a working physician, they have to graduate the equivalent of the 24th grade. They go from kindergarten through 12th grade, 4 years of undergraduate, 4 years of medical school, then they go to their residency program. In family medicine's instance, it's a 3-year program, and that's what we're going to be offering here, is that 3 years. We're going to do it a little differently because it's a rural track program, so we're going to be partnering with our facility in Flint. They have a very large residency program, and they're going to spend their first year in Flint, and then they'll spend their last 2 years here in Petoskey. So they're primarily going to be getting some peds rotations at Flint that we don't have available up here. And as we do that, we're going to be making the transition from a community hospital to a teaching hospital. That's an important transition as we start to teach the next generation of physicians. And this is just the beginning of what we're going to do in terms of training in Northern Michigan. So at any given moment, McLaren downstate has 992 students, interns, residents, and fellows training in various specialties. We do not have any right now in Northern Michigan. We are the largest hospital in the system that does not have a training program, but we're going to catch up quickly. So this is our first foray. We're just in the process of selecting our first 2 residents right now, and in the next month we expect to have that match made with them. And in July they will start their first year in Flint, and then next July they will be up here with us, and then the following year we will have 2 additional ones. So we'll have 4 additional physicians in the market in 2 years from now. So we're excited to be sharing that with the community.
Yes, please, that's huge. One of the reasons that is so important too is that, you know, typically, and I say this typically, rural areas are very underserved when it comes to quality healthcare. We are very lucky what we have in McLaren. So we've always worked hard though to overcome that, I think, in so many ways. So becoming a teaching facility as well is a huge portion to this. But when you think about it, I think maybe, you know, bring it down to the, you know, reality of not just Petoskey, but beyond. So what do you think the benefits are for this program in the region when it does launch? What does it mean to have residents here, since we don't, you know, we don't have this, we're not used to it, we're not that teaching hospital, we're becoming one, we're gonna catch up quick, like you said. But what does that benefit have? How does that help the average family?
20% of the population in the U.S. lives in rural areas, but only 10% of physicians practice in a rural area. It's a massive discrepancy between supply and demand. Similar to what was discussed with housing, we have a mismatch of supply and demand of physicians in rural areas. By training them locally, there is a higher probability that they are going to stay, whether it's with us or with one of the other hospitals in the region, or whether they go into private practice. If we can get them here, if we can show them Northern Michigan, we clearly know lots of people are moving here right now, right? So if we can get them here and show them the community, there's a high likelihood we will be able to retain them and that they will practice with us long term. We do have an extremely high quality organization. We're a top 50 heart hospital for the 5th consecutive year. We're a top 100 hospital across the country for the 2nd year. And we are a level 2 trauma center. We are a STEMI center. We're a primary stroke center. If you try to die, it's where you come, right? We're really good at saving your life. And I can't think of another place that has a better quality reputation to help train physicians and impart that experience, that legacy of McLaren Northern Michigan onto future physicians.
And we all know that our healthcare system is part of the fabric of our community. And when we look at the sustainability of our community long-term, having the quality healthcare that we have and expanding on that is a priority for all. And when we talk about the excellence, all the stuff you listed, that was a lot of acronyms that I missed, but I think it just means you guys are awesome. So we're going to stick with that. What else is on the horizon for McLaren?
So a couple of things are on the horizon that are important for the community to know about. We are adding behavioral health services to our Sheboygan campus. We're going to be adding an inpatient psychiatric program, an intense outpatient program, as well as a clinic. That service is not available anywhere close right now. You have to go to Traverse City or Alpena for access right now. And unfortunately, behavioral health patients in many times get transferred downstate or even out of state in order to find services. So that'll be important for the community to be able to have that locally. The other thing is a partnership that we're working through with North Central and developing what we're calling the McLaren Career Academy, and that is to try to connect our younger folks with health careers, fast track them through so that they can take on some of those entry-level positions, phlebotomy as was mentioned earlier, registration, etc. So if you have a junior or senior in your home and they are looking for something to do this year, please connect with the hospital. We're going to be letting those 16 and 17-year-olds come into the hospital, get some experience, and hopefully set them on a path towards health careers in the future.
That definitely deserves a round of applause. That is fantastic. And we could keep talking about all that because I think the career pathways and the fast tracks with North Central is huge, and the behavioral health is absolutely amazing. So I would really like to commend McLaren on stepping forward into that space as well in a local region. So thank you, Todd, very, very much. We know without a doubt that the last couple of years have been very difficult for our healthcare system and our healthcare workers, and we are just absolutely grateful for the McLaren team and their tireless efforts. So I would really like to, for all those McLaren team members watching right now, give them a round of applause, please. All right, we are now going to welcome our next set of speakers to the stage. I was just thinking about you guys all dancing to do this, so let's see how this goes. Thank you very much to Todd, Sarah, and Jen. You guys did pretty good. Look at that. Nobody tripped anybody? Fantastic. So we are going to kick it back off with Dan, and we are going to talk about the state of tourism. And Lisa's giving me a look. Should I?
No.
Oh, should I mention something? Okay, I will. We have a birthday on the stage right now. 2/22/22.
And it's Tuesday, that's right.
He's going to kill me later.
Thank you. We're not going to sing to you, though. Thank you. Oh, we threatened last night. We were sitting talking about this, going, oh, we're definitely going to sing a song. Yeah, lighten it up a little bit. We'll point out a little bit, is that we have on the stage for, I think, the first time in 17 years, we've had other representatives talk, but we never have had the director. So Petoskey Area Visitors Bureau is the principal destination marketing firm or organization for our region. We look at this, the communities that you serve are Petoskey, Harbor Springs, Bayview, Melanson, what am I missing? Boyne City. Okay, so a pretty big area on those lines. In January of this year, 2022, just a few weeks ago, or months, 8 weeks ago, we had the director retire, Peter Fitzsimons, after 37 years with the Bureau. New leadership was now formed, and we have now the new executive leader, Jim Powell. So welcome, Jim, coming back to Michigan. So Jim, let's start out and talk a little bit about actually the organization itself. Let's get a better look for this, that not all of us who are familiar with the tourism side and marketing side that drives this. So if you would kind of give us a good basic look on that, maybe talk a little bit about the finances, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. And again, it is great to be back in Michigan. I was raised downstate and just spent the last 16 years out west, kind of in the same role, but with a very unique organization. It was a bit of a hybrid of a chamber and a bureau together, which was a very unique situation. And, the one thing I really love about my new job now is that I am in the same offices as the Chamber of Commerce, and that makes me feel very good about things when I get up every morning and in that office with Lisa and Emily and Nikki. So, but as Dan said, maybe one of the good things to do is take a quick step back on our organization, who we are, what we represent. I always joke that my next door neighbors never know what I do. I describe it, oh, you work for the city. Oh, no. You work for the county. No. And so, the organization was formed back in 1985. Again, great kudos to Peter and the leadership he provided over those 38 years. I look at people like him that were really pioneers in the industry and really creating organizations like this across the state to really foster tourism and visitation to our communities. And I give a lot of respect to that. So that bureau was formed based on legislation that was put in place to create those kind of organizations. That is very forward-thinking. Where I'm coming from in Utah, that wasn't the case. It was a very different model that was used. And I think the model here in Michigan is outstanding, and especially when you look at kind of how it was approached up here in the Petoskey area. As Dan said too, it is this patchwork that we have in this region. It isn't bound by a county or by a city. It is these 12 regions, these 12 cities and county areas and townships that really make it up. And if you think about it, really it is that area that surrounds Little Traverse Bay and those communities that we work from. There are approximately 30 lodging properties that live kind of in that region. In order to be a member of our organization, we typically work with those that are 10 plus rooms of full-time, dedication to overnight visitation. And the funding for our organization comes from that mechanism that is out there with those 30 properties. There is a 5% assessment that our guests pay with a stay at one of those lodging properties, and those funds are what fund our organization to do the work that we do and the marketing, the promotion, and the driving of tourism to the region up here. It's not a tax. We always, where I came from previously, it was a tax, but certainly our guests are helping fund what we do and shape where we go. Now, our organization is very similar to the Chamber of Commerce from a standpoint of how we're organized. We're a private nonprofit, a 501c, with a board and a board made up of our members, which has been really great. I've been spending a lot of time getting to know my board members, getting to know our membership and others in the community. But, certainly our principal role is the promotion of the destination. And we do that through kind of what I call the three different realms of paid media, earned media, and owned media. So that's our marketing campaigns that we put together, our 4-season marketing campaigns that you'll see out there, our PR efforts to get that earned media and work with travel writers and other publications in the region. And then, one other area that we also are spending more time in is helping drive group and conference business to the region. This is great because this really balances out that visitor that is more the transient guest, more that leisure traveler. And so typically that group business that comes in is midweek and off-peak periods for us, which really kind of knocks down some of those peaks and valleys that we experience in tourism here in the community. So hopefully that gives you a good idea.
Absolutely, that works out, I think, very well, and it's an interesting thing that we've had happen throughout our community throughout maybe 100 years now with tourism driving who we are. And it is absolutely DNA, and it's in our parents and our grandparents, and a lot of that we have multiple generations there. So that's very interesting. So let's go back and even fine-tune that a little farther, and let's look at last year, going 2021, even to the beginning of this year. What did your organization maybe see? Is there any trends, anything unique happened during that time?
Certainly tourism, in my previous role, none of us saw this coming with COVID, and none of us ever imagined. Now, certainly in tourism, we all know how to tighten our belts and ride those waves. There are so many things that impact us. And, I think the tourism industry responded very quickly and understood how to approach things. I would say Petoskey area has been very, very fortunate. much of what we do here is based on the outdoors. And what did people want during the pandemic? They wanted to be in the outdoors. And so that was natural. There are other regions, areas in the state, around the country, in the Midwest, that have suffered greatly because of the loss of business travel. That is still short to come back. For 2021, I would say that the Petoskey area did a great job of starting the recovery process, and that if you look at it versus a non-pandemic year, we're awfully darn close to it from an occupancy standpoint. That's the percentage of people that have come into the region. One other area that has also grown, and it's grown for a variety of reasons, is that average daily rate that those lodging properties have been able to bring in. Those numbers have gone up, and much more rapidly than we've ever thought. Some of that, I think, is connected to the inflation, the cost of employment, the cost of materials, things of that nature. But the one thing I would say is it feels to me like a fragile recovery. And while I'm an optimist, I'm also a marketing guy, so I'm a pessimist. But at the end of the day, tourism rides a lot of different waves, and I'm very interested to keep a very close eye on what's going on. Are we still cresting this desire of people to be here because we're the outdoors, we're drivable? What happens when general travel returns? People start getting on planes and doing longer vacations. Travel to Europe resumes, things of that nature, which are definitely coming this next summer. And so while I'm excited where we're at, I also want to keep a very cautious eye on where we're going. That's a super important thing for us to be out in front of. So
I never thought about that. It's actually a really good point. As things do open up, that may create a little bit of an issue that you're talking about, that we have to pull back to who was our original client base or that would come through. As you look at that is interesting. So as you look at that, we're seeing some of the tourists that came through that maybe have seasonal homes, or they're doing rentals on the outside, that I know that they were here a little longer last year because of those reasons. And I think that we enjoyed some of that from a hotel standpoint, some of the guests that came through. When you look at that, how are you going to change your marketing strategies now from a summer and a fall campaign to try to now maybe predict, if you can predict anything?
Well, I think the days are gone of set it and forget it strategies within marketing, and we learned that pretty quickly when we pivoted during the pandemic. Like I said, and I mean that point is a very important one, is that we're keeping a very close eye on kind of where our guests are coming from and where we might be losing them. The one great thing we've got going for us is the recidivism, the return of our traveler. We have a high level of people that return. So one of the strategies that we'll probably kind of continue to dive into a little bit more is going after that first-time visitor to the Petoskey area, creating new visitors, going after new segments and finding people to get up here. Now, we had a lot of people try us and test us. Let's hope that we can maintain them and continue to bring them back to the region. So one of the focuses you'll start to see is as we do our digital targeting, which is amazing because it's not just about buying billboards anymore, right? It's all the data that we have on everyone, and our ability to really focus on those people that are a first-time visitor to the region. Bottom line, once they get here, they fall in love with this place, and my job is done. And they are going to continue. 85% of those people are going to continue to return to this location. On tap, we are just finishing up our winter campaign. Overall, we feel very successful that the anecdotal data that I have and some of the data points I have, winter is very strong for us. Even in light of maybe our limited snow that we've had this winter, the resorts seem to be doing very well. I don't know if anyone else was downtown last weekend, but it was doing pretty good. Town was bumping, which was great. We have a spring campaign in our hip pocket right now, keeping a close eye on the weather patterns. Obviously up here, we all experience mud season. I'm very familiar with that from living out west. But we do have a great opportunity here that if the weather does change sooner for us, that we can lean into spring and see what we can do to drive some of that early visitor traffic before summer really kind of hits into full gear. And then on top of that, we're working on summer right now. I've been here 8 weeks. I am getting my arms around as much as I can at the moment, but and certainly benefiting from the hard work that's been put on by my predecessors. And again, we've got the one great thing we've got a great product here. I'm not trying to sell dog food or software or whatever it is. I am selling Petoskey area, which is a pretty amazing product that everyone will really want. So it's a rewarding opportunity to be able to do that.
That's great, Jim. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Welcome back to Michigan. Welcome back to Petoskey. Look forward to this spring and the summer. Well, we know valuable parts of our economy is the tourism, but we also need to look at how to expand that area. We're going to go back to education, I think with a combination childcare lens with Lisa.
We know that childcare is a multifaceted issue with the direct ties to education. We are excited to take a look at what is underway and what recent innovations can move us towards solutions. So, to talk more about the different aspects of the childcare problem, we're joined by Rebecca Otto. Rebecca is a Community Impact Director for the Shar-M region, United Way of Northwest Michigan, and Jennifer Wixom, who is the Program Coordinator and Instructional Faculty for the Early Childhood Education at North Central Michigan College, and that's Wixom. Thank you. Rebecca, the United Way was a key partner in getting the Tri-Share program expanded into Emmett County. I'm guessing we may have some people in our audience who are wondering, what is this Tri-Share program? So we were hoping that you could explain a little bit more about what the program is, how it works, and what we hope to see from it in the future.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm expecting many phone calls from you online and in the audience to sign up for this Tri-Share program. It's a pilot program into the state of Michigan that is trying to address the affordability of childcare, and United Way of Northwest Michigan was picked as the facilitator hub for this northern Northwest region. So we cover the 10 counties that are in Prosperity Region 2, which obviously include Charlevoix and Emmett County as well. And what we do is serve as the go-between with employers who are wanting to provide some kind of service to their employees to address that child care, the employees who are paying for child care, and a subsidy through the state that will cover a portion of that. So everybody pays a third. And obviously Jennifer's going to speak a bit to this. One of the main concerns right now is we may have a willingness from employers and certainly a willingness from employees, but we are having that daycare shortage of slots to be able to put people into. So as Lisa mentioned, it's a multifaceted problem that's going to require a lot of solutions. So this is just one part of that solution, is addressing that affordability and taking some of the cost off, the burden off of the employees.
Thank you. And how many companies are you working with right now, roughly?
So currently, there are no companies participating in the Petoskey region, which is why I look forward to the flood of phone calls that will come in after this for everyone who is very excited to be the first ones. We have about 8 businesses that are participating south of us that are still in that region. And we, in this 10-county region, our particular facilitator hub, we have been the model for all the other facilitator hubs. So come on, Petoskey, like we've got a good thing here. And so we're not yet into this, we're available in this region, we're not yet active in this region. So we're very much looking forward to that.
So you all have a challenge, right? Let's help get the word out about this incredible program. I know recently that we had heard of a cleaning company who they were having such issues with childcare that they actually created a position to bring in someone to help out their employees, and I think that's been going well, but maybe this is the next step for them. So thank you. Jennifer, the childcare issue that is facing our region, it goes deeper than just affordability, being able to pay for that. Can you explain what are some of the other issues, some of the other hurdles that you're seeing, and how the college is working to address them?
Yes, thanks, Lisa, and thanks for the invite for both Rebecca and I to be able to talk about childcare today. Yes, childcare is definitely a complex system, as Rebecca alluded to, And I often think of the system as a set of puzzle pieces that we need to work together to, all of the pieces need to come together to create the full picture. And affordability is one of those pieces, and TriShare is a great example of an innovation that I think will help move us forward in relationship to affordability. But some of these other pieces of the puzzle that we need to consider include accessibility, and that is, where is childcare in our region? Capacity, how many childcare slots do we have relative to what the need is? Quality of the individuals caring for the children in our community and the quality of the programming that they're receiving. And then the real anchor or backbone of the whole system is workforce. And all of us here today know exactly the workforce challenges that we're confronting right now. But childcare has always struggled with workforce challenges due to low wages and operational challenges that our childcare business owners face. The pandemic has just made these challenges come to the forefront and made the wider community and parents and employers much more aware of the impacts of these issues. So at North Central Michigan College, our work is all about people, places, and programs, and how we can support problem solving and support bringing people together to work on some of these challenges. So we're actively working on workforce strategies that we believe will both onboard new people to the early childhood childcare career pathway, as well as sustain those individuals who are working in childcare. Some of the specific things we're working on right now include partnering with Networks Northwest to create a youth apprenticeship program to onboard some of our high school students, collaborating with K-12 schools in our area, high schools specifically that have programs on their campus, as well as working with childcare employers who are willing to host adult apprentices in their programs. We are also hosting a college recruitment, career, and business development fair in partnership with childcare licensing, Great Start to Quality, and the Michigan Early Childhood Association for Young Children. And that's going to be in April, so we're really hoping that out of that we have some individuals who are interested in starting in-home childcare programs, individuals who are wanting to meet potential employers and fill out some applications to work in childcare programs, and individuals who want to get started on their educational pathway. We are starting to offer credit for prior learning for individuals who have already received national credentials, which we think is a quality standard, and collaborating with local CTE programs to consider effective strategies for building up our access to educational professionals at all levels. And we're offering more accessible program pathways, including a fully online early childhood education program, and continue to recruit early childhood students throughout the state. And I'm happy to share that we have a substantial increase in our fall applicants, and that's just the report as of February. So that's some of the things we're working on.
And what is the date of the April event?
April 23rd.
All right, April 23rd, so let's help get the word out about that and promote that. It sounds like it's going to be a great opportunity and great to bring all those different parties together. Childcare issues are clearly long-term issues. What do you think it will take to create long-term and viable systems change? And how can employers help? You guys want to arm wrestle over this? Okay.
We got it all coordinated. We play well in the sandbox. So, long-term and viable systems change comes from a few different things. It first comes from the will and the commitment to change, a clear understanding of what the problem is, and an openness to creative and innovative solutions to the problem. So at North Central Michigan College, we're rolling out our North Central Michigan College Child Care Initiative. You should see a slide up there. It's a 3-phase project, and our intention is to create a sustainable and viable community-based childcare system. And we're very close to securing funding for phase 1, Planning for Innovations. This phase is a research and outreach project, and we want to be connecting with parents and providers and employers in our area on a personal level to locally assess what childcare needs are and what the will for change is. In our pre-planning phase for this project, over the last year, I had pulled together some local leaders in early childhood education, in K-12, employers, representatives from the broader business community, local, regional, state governments, and philanthropy to brainstorm innovations. And I shared a slide. You can see that all of the innovations fall into those various puzzle pieces I was referring to. So ideas like TriShare to address affordability, and ideas that address accessibility, capacity building, quality, and workforce development. And our job now is to determine which of these innovations within all of the puzzle pieces will be the most viable and the most sustainable, which are going to be able to stand the test of time and be here for years to come. And phase 1 research will support the implementation of innovations during phase 2, and we'll be able to sustain and evaluate those innovations during phase 3. So I'm very optimistic about this innovation and confident that we all together are going to be able to create a strong community-based system solution to our child care problems.
So as Jennifer addressed the complexities just within childcare, at United Way of Northwest Michigan, we zoom out and then look at how it's interrelated with every other area that we're struggling with. Some of these things we've talked about earlier with the housing and healthcare issues. Anyone who's heard me speak before has heard me talk about the ALICE population. That stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained Employed. This was an idea that started in New Jersey as a way to give more context to who it was that was struggling in a community. It's easy to just look at things from the federal poverty line and the social safety networks that are in place for that. But with this ALICE report, we were able to get a better picture of how many people were above that and didn't qualify for those programs, but were still below a household survival budget for the particular community that they were living in. So when we look at that household survival budget, it includes housing, childcare, it includes healthcare, it includes transportation. And when we look at the numbers for Petoskey specifically, you're looking at about 42% of the population that is below that ALICE threshold. So 42% of the population that lives in Petoskey doesn't make enough to be able to afford to live here. And so any approach that we take that helps mitigate that in some way, whether it's targeted to housing, whether it's targeted to childcare, is going to help minimize that burden that somebody is facing. And it's all those people that the Sarahs mentioned earlier. It's the phlebotomist, it's the server at a restaurant, it's the clerk that's in a store. And so they're people that you interact with and rely on to be in your community all the time. And so it requires all of us to be working together, not just addressing each specific area that we might be working inside of, but to also look at these creative approaches that might hit a few different facets. So TriShare was one of the things we were able to bring forward. Another thing that we have is something called the Business Resource Network, which was a collaboration with Networks Northwest to provide a success coach in 8 businesses that are in our local area. That help address any housing issues that might come up. It might be a uniform cost situation that they can't cover. Anything that might come up, there's a success coach available to them to help weather that. And it has made it so that there has been 300% less turnover in those businesses. So that's been a creative approach that allows employers to help their employees in a way that's not necessarily increased wages, but is really targeting exactly what that family is dealing with, whatever that hurdle is. So I think we're in a unique position in this community where, as Jennifer said, we all play well in the sandbox together, and we all have the ability to come up with these solutions that bring all of these partners in together and make something happen. it does require us to roll up our sleeves and do some work. So I'm looking forward to what the next year will bring and how that will look when we come back for the next state of the community.
Let's give you both just a big round of applause. And just want to say thank you for your insight and your efforts. Definitely exciting progress that you're making, and love, again and again, we're seeing creativity, we're seeing innovation. So thank you for spending time with us today. Now we're going to jump back over on this side of the stage to Nikki, and our final topic is government and economy.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you very much to both Jen and Rebecca for that. That was fantastic. I'm pretty darn excited. I was going to be really calm about this, but I've decided, you know what, forget it. One, to be joined by these two gentlemen together. If you wanted somebody to ask me, what was your highlight for 21, I'd be like, yes. Right here was my highlight for 2021, because this is what collaboration and community looks like. And so I am joined by Michael Reeves, who is the county administrator for Emmett County, and David Emmel, who's the president of NLEA. I did promise you guys I wasn't going to take a selfie or ask, but I kind of want to later, so if that's okay. But all joking aside, thank you guys very much. It's extremely important for those who don't know to hear not just how our local government works, but how our local government and economy work together. So, Mike, I think the county made unbelievable important strides in 21, despite challenges that were, continued with the pandemic all the time. But there's a tremendous amount of unknown and continued change still ahead of us. So what should we know about the coming year that the county is focusing on right now?
Thank you, Nikki. Who would have thought NLEA and Emmett County in a collaborative partnership last year? Business cannot be conducted the same way all the time, and the county recognizes that. It's been a struggle for the county and other regional governments and local governments and businesses and families and others to do business over the last couple of years. I'll tell you that Emmett County is no different than everybody else. We're busy trying to build collaborative relationships, repair relationships where they need to be repaired, seek out new relationships in order to do business, all under the guise of providing mandated services to the citizens, but also being a partner in the future in a number of these different areas that we've heard today and several others that weren't mentioned. Emmett County realizes that it can't do things on its own. It shouldn't do things on its own, but it has to be a partner with other people in order to overcome certain obstacles. And we borrow a saying that's worked well for the Marines for decades, improvise, adapt, and overcome. So we improvise in how we do business, we adapt to changing times, and we overcome obstacles. And that's what we do.
You do it quite well, I might add. And as you said, the partnerships and the efforts of Emmett County in the last year, again, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes in our community that you don't know that's happening. And it's been my sincere pleasure to see just how many partnerships the county is in the background and working on consistently. And it's been great. And of course, this one is one of our favorites right now. So, okay, it's your turn on the hot seat. The economic future, David, of Northern Michigan is obviously on top of everyone's mind. And currently, the NLEA is really zeroing in on our blue economy. But you need to explain what that is and what it means for our region if we start focusing on creating that sustainable blue economy.
Nikki, thanks. Mike, great to see you as always, and sure, time with you. So. We've gotten to know each other pretty well over the last few months and enjoy each other's company, so that's a great thing. The blue economy is a really important part of our experience in Northern Michigan. The term blue economy, and sometimes we call it the blue water economy, and those are kind of interchangeable, was a term that was coined by a gentleman by the name of John Austin, who is director of the Michigan Economic Center. The general concept of that is that as an asset, and part of what we do in economic development is really to leverage the assets that we have to, around quality of life for all of us. And water is probably one of the most important assets that we have, and I think we all recognize that. And so in that, when we think about innovation and the business and the jobs that are related to our blue economy, right now we have about 1,700 direct jobs related to our blue economy across the region. Along with that, there are probably several thousand jobs. And it wouldn't take us hard to kind of connect the dots and think of all those. So one of the things that we want to really do is to hone in on some of the different industry sectors that really make up the core of our economy. And the blue economy is part of our core. And so we're very focused on that. And one of the things that we're really excited about is May 13th of this year, we'll be hosting the first annual Northern Lakes Economic Symposium, where we're going to spend a fair amount of time digging into the blue economy and what makes up that. And we're thrilled to have John Austin here as one of our key speakers for that, along with folks from the Michigan Office of Outdoor Recreation, because our recreation industry and the jobs and the industry and the economy tied to recreation is all integrated into that. As well as representatives from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and several other speakers we're getting ready to announce here. So we're very excited about that. That gives us some great opportunities, and we're very excited, and I know I keep saying that word, but I am really very excited about it. I am excited, always. This is cool stuff. I mean, when you dig into it, you really realize how interconnected our economy is to certain assets that we have. Healthcare is an incredible asset that we have. Our education system, these are all assets, and we figure out in our local economy how best to leverage those for the benefit of everyone. So we're very much looking forward to that. One thing I do want to say is, Nikki, thank you for everything you and your team, your board of directors are doing to support the economic vitality of our region. It goes without notice.
Well, that wasn't on script, but thank you. Okay, the final question is, and by the way, if you missed that, May 13th for the Economic Symposium, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm excited. So the final question to you both. What major benefits do you see with this renewed collaboration between Emmett County and NLEA? And I'm sure that, we could go on this one, but, personally, individually, what do you feel is like, okay, this is where we're going?
You want me to go first on that, huh? Absolutely. We're going to talk for hours. I think David used the right words and called leveraging assets. The NLEA possesses assets that not only Emmett County needs, but everybody in this room needs and everybody in northern Michigan needs. Government can't be everything to everybody. And I will tell you, being involved in government for multiple decades, I'll leave it at that, government is not always an efficient way of doing business. And we don't have all the tools that we need to succeed and to serve our residents or businesses. The NLEA brings those assets to the table. I think you'll see without giving away too many secrets, over the next multiple months throughout the year, you'll see some innovative ways that the NLEA is going to impact projects and things that the county is working on, along with many other partners in the room. I'm excited about the direction we're going in. So I look forward to work with the NLEA. It's a solid relationship built on what I believe is trust. It's built for the long run. It's not a one-year-at-a-shot stance anymore. I understand what they need, and most importantly, they understand what's important to Emmett County. We have an agreement that we both worked hard to articulate and understand so that there's no blue area other than the blue economy.
Yeah, thank you. As looking forward, as Mike said, we've taken the time to lay out clear expectations for how we work together and the outcomes that we need to achieve for the benefit of everyone. And so we're laser focused on how we deliver value to our businesses and communities across Emmett County, and not just Emmett County, Antrim County, Charlevoix County, and Sheboygan County, because our economies are all interconnected in so many ways. And I think what's been really exciting for me about this experience over the last year and working with Mike is to really understand that and to understand how critically important our collective roles are in economic development to advancing our region, not just for the large businesses that we have, but for the quality of life that we all share. And the quality of life that others come here to experience, sometimes only for a short period of time. But that is part of our experience, and we're very much looking forward to continuing that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Definitely. That's, yes. Please applaud. I just, yeah, it makes me really happy. That's all I'm going to say. Great things coming, that's for sure. So that actually does conclude our interviews. I know everybody wants to get back out in the wonderful weather. But I do want to mention before I give it back to Dan for our closing comments, not just thank all of our speakers because they were fantastic, but also thank Dan and Lisa for their time and investment in this. And remind you that if you heard something that inspired you, you have more questions on, you want to get more involved in, definitely reach out to the chamber or reach out to our individual speakers. We have this unbelievable collaborative fabric in our community, and it's evident here today. And we want y'all to join in on that collaborative fabric weaving that we're doing because we're going to do amazing things. So back to you, Dan.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you so much. Well, there you go. Now you have it right now. It's very interesting, and we hope that you found it useful that this theme was a little unique that we put together with the collaboration, showing you some behind-the-scenes work that's going on, with obviously some issues that we've had, but also some answers that we've had. It may not be perfect, but people are trying. Things are being done. And that's the one challenge, I guess, that we want to give you is don't wait till it's perfect or you're asked. Go forward and do something. Do something nice, and also remember, everybody around you is struggling with something. And so as you pass somebody or as somebody's waiting on you or you're working with somebody else, just be a little bit kinder and work a little bit harder to be a better person. So with that, I want to thank Lisa and Nikki. This is always fun working with them. Emily in the back, hiding around the corner, doing all the legwork behind the scenes. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan has been a great supporter of this event and also the chamber, so we're so blessed to have them, as well as Michigan, the Consumers Energy and OHM Advisors. I think that is wonderful that they do that. So the new sets were put together between Kaufman, Quiet Moose, and then also what's going to be, what am I forgetting, Nikki? Thank you. Yep, Kiss Carpet, thank you, there we go. Alpine Media, thank you in the back at this point in time. Thank you for coming today and braving the elements and listening to all of us sit up on our stage. So have a wonderful day and a prosperous 2022.